Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Since 2003, we've been connecting buyers and sellers, providing access to sold-out events at prices lower than most secondary market options. Whether it's sports, theater, or concerts, our massive nationwide network ensures you get the tickets you want, guaranteed. For the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. That's TICKETLIQUIDATOR.com. Ticket Liquidator. This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Mariette's on the move.
What?
Mariette's on the move.
Again?
Mariette's on the move.
If you're dreaming about moving to a new city to pursue the life of your dreams, this podcast is for you. Moving 18 times in 23 years to 5 of America's top cities, I know it's not easy to make those decisions alone. I help you develop the dream, the plan, and the move, even if we need to get scrappy to get you there. I'll be doing interviews, career and city spotlights, and sharing my crazy moving stories, tips, tricks, and scams to avoid. Traveling to explore your dreams has never been easier. Now let's get moving. Okay, you guys, I am so excited for today's interview. I woke up not feeling well and I was like, there's no way I'm missing this conversation because my guest that I'm about to introduce, her and I had like an hour and a half, almost 2 hour long conversation when we first chatted. And it was just supposed to be like a 30-minute discovery call about how we can collaborate together and what she's doing. I met her through a guy named Vinny that I met at Podcast Movement last year when I went to that conference, and he introduced us into a circle. And part of what I coach around is when you can't move, like how to make your space a little bit nicer, just so you can feel content until you can move. And so when I had this conversation with Gala, who is going to be my guest today, we just talked through all of that because she is a holistic home designer, and we're going to get into what that means. And I'm so excited to have her. So Gala, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Gala was raised in New York and Barcelona. So her name is Gala Magriña, and she founded her multidisciplinary firm, Gala Magriña Design, in 2017. So while her interest in home design could be traced all the way back to her Hawaiian-themed childhood bedroom, which we're going to have to talk about because I love Hawaii. Or I should say Hawaii. Her career was ultimately shaped by her education as a film student at New York University. And her eventual role as the founder of M Crown Productions, which is an award-winning production design agency that focuses on events, pop-ups, exhibitions, and retail displays. Her interest in holistic design and mindful practices influenced her career shift from the events and temporary spaces to interiors, and it continues to inform her mission, which we're going to talk a lot about today, because that's kind of what she does, is like what we just talked about. So Gala's belief is that we create mindful environments that have the power to heal and push us to be better versions of ourselves, which is obviously what we talk about on this show, and getting you to your dreams. In doing so, we're elevating individual consciousness and in turn, the collective consciousness, which I could not be more excited about. So Gala, what is holistic home design?
Well, thank you for that amazing intro. So real simply, let's begin just by defining traditional interior design. I always like to define that as the focus on marrying beauty and function, right? Very focused on aesthetics, functionality, all of that. Holistic interior design does that, but it takes things a step further because now we have all these studies that have come out that have shown us that our homes, our environments, our communities, what we're surrounded by impacts our daily motivations, behaviors, and lifestyle. And those in turn determine 80 to 90% of our health outcomes. So taking all of that into consideration, it's not enough to just design for beauty and function anymore. We have to go deep. We need to design for the whole being, and that's with a capital B, mind, body, and soul. And we need to start taking Mother Nature into consideration and making some choices that are also in alignment with her. Because back in the day, we used to live in tandem, depending on her, nourishing her, not taking more than we needed. And all of that's gone out the window. And we got to really go back to that to help our planet. So I think of it as like a super hyped up, healthier, more powerful version of interior design that everybody should know about and all interior designers should be practicing.
I love that so much because when I was creating this room, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, I, I know we look at like the things that we do to our home as an investment, but it's almost like the investment for the next person. And I was like, I want to live in my own house. I want to feel comfortable in my own house. Like you and I were talking about like my laundry room and how it was like my junk drawer. And, you're like, throw some cabinets up, like
Make it
make it
nice.
nice.
It'll be nicer to do laundry.
Yes.
It is one of the ultimate acts of self-care that for some reason gets left on the table. We focus so much on diet, sleep, exercise, and then our homes look like, am I allowed to curse?
Sure.
Our homes look like shit. And they become energetic drains on a daily basis. The problem is humans, we're so adaptable. So we put our blinders on. And so we avoid that junk room, or we avoid, but it's still there draining you every day and taxing on you, So I really, I think it's important to begin thinking about our spaces, especially now that we know how they're affecting us, as that fourth pillar of wellness and also ultimate self-care, because we spend so much time in our homes.
Yeah.
How could you not want to make it beautiful,
Right.
supportive, healthy, and all the things,
Well, and especially if you are not in a place where you can move. So,
Yes.
and I might cough a little bit. So sorry for anybody listening. I hope I don't blow anybody's eardrums out. But I think that part of where, after you and I had that conversation, it was so eye-opening because I'm going through my own Fred framework. So for those listening who aren't familiar, if this is your first show listening, the framework that I coach around is called Fred. So it's finances, robustness. So think mental and physical strength, your ecosystem, and dreams. Like if the next move is getting you closer to your dreams, but we start with that dream in mind. And a lot of times when somebody talks about like what they want to, what that dream is, it's a lot about how they want to feel, right? And there's no reason you can't feel those things in your current environment with some minor tweaks,
Yes.
And like the laundry room, that was my junk drawer. Like I had wire shelving everywhere, and you're like, put up some cabinets. I mean, like literally so simple. And I had California closets out here, which I love. I did a collaboration with them, and I still am deeply, deeply in love with my closet.
They're amazing.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So shout out to Renee from Charlotte, California Closets. But it's one of those situations where like I just couldn't afford to do what I wanted to do in that. But what I did was very simple, but it cost me half the money, and I'm in love with it. I don't mind doing laundry now. I have shelves and I can close the door, and I've got things in there that I can store. But now, like, being that I can't move right now because one, physically and mentally, I'm not in that space. I'm still grieving. I'm still dealing with my back issues, but I also don't know where I want to go. So for me to finish that simple room with a very small investment, I think total altogether with my peel and stick wallpaper and everything, I think I paid like $1,300. I feel like my house is now complete, and I don't mind staying.
Yeah.
And like that probably just bought me another couple years in this house, which is
Yeah.
it's insane. But you have an entire methodology called Beyond Spaces that I want to talk about, because when I heard it, I was like, and my mind just blew. If you're watching this on YouTube, you saw it. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you didn't, but you probably just heard it. So tell me about that, because I just find it fascinating.
Sure. Yeah. So over time, I've developed these sort of key touch points that when we meet with a client, we can apply to a project. And sometimes it's, all of them. Sometimes it's one or two. We really like to meet the client where they're at. And also the space is also going to say, hey, focus more on here, focus on there. But there are some basics in this that I think are really important all around.
Yeah.
So the first thing is Feng Shui and the language of space. There's different forms of Feng Shui, some very ancient, very powerful. I studied a more modern form. And from that, I took elements that were very easy to apply in interior design.
Yeah.
And one of the main things that gave me, and I could talk about feng shui for like 6 hours, but it
I
gave
feel like we did talk about it for at
yeah,
least a half
yeah.
hour.
I think for listeners, the most important thing is it gives a language to decode and work with your physical space. So one simple concept when you think about your space is this idea of yin and yang energies, right? We know like that black can exist without white, good without evil, and it's these energies that are constantly in circulation in the world, right? Everything is like a duality. And so we can take that and apply that to interior design when we're looking at a space or thinking about a space. So yin is traditionally associated with the moon and feminine energy. So if
Oh,
you think about that, if you translate that into interior design terms, that's a lot of rounded shapes, soft colors, textures. That would be great to think of those design elements in a bedroom
yeah.
or a meditation room, somewhere where you want to relax.
Okay.
The opposite of that is in your home office, you want to get more yang with that design. That is associated with the masculine, with the sun, with very vibrant colors, sharp points and angles, right?
Mhm.
You could feel the difference in that. Exactly me. This
Yeah.
is like popping off. The rest of my house is like totally zen because
Me
that's what
too.
I need when I
I know.
retreat,
I
you
was like, "Have
know?
you been here? Did you see like some sort of like my bedroom is all earth colors. I've got a
Yep.
picture of like the ocean behind me because
Yep.
I just want to feel like relaxed when I lay down.
Yeah.
The rest of
And
my house, like my office is all super bold colors. You can't see it, but I do actually have a painting. Well, that's like a picture of Maui.
uh-huh.
So back to your Hawaiian roots, but
Yep.
it's super bright. It's like greens and yellows and blues and reds and stuff. So I
I
feel
can
like I'm
see it.
like
I
right
mean, you
on
have a lot
track.
of geometrics.
Mhm.
Animals are consistent. So geometrics is the fire element, which is
Okay.
great. Animals are the fire element, that energy that you want in your space. And so what that informs us on a really basic level is just don't follow the trends. Don't
Mhm.
follow, I mean, yes, follow what sparks joy, but think about your design choices under those two terms and how they might be affecting you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we start to get a little bit more intentional about our choices, knowing those things. And
Yeah.
this is one thing out of feng shui. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
table that there. The other thing that's really interesting is two concepts, that saying, as within, so without. So Coco Chanel said that interiors are just a projection of the soul.
Oof.
So our space is just going to reflect back to us who we are inside, right?
Yeah.
But inversely, we know that our spaces affect us, so we can also be very intentional about what we put in them. One of the examples I like to give is choosing really powerful artwork
Mm,
that might remind you of something or a goal or something in your foyer because you
yeah.
come in and out every day, or on your bedroom wall. So the first thing when you get up, boom, you see that.
Yeah.
So really intentionality about where you're placing things and what you're placing is already going to supercharge your environment in a way that if you just focus on beauty may not be the case.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
I'm smiling because I'm looking at I found this so dragonflies are my like
Mm,
every time I have a big change coming, I see dragonflies everywhere.
mhm,
Even if they're not in season,
mhm,
I will see, somebody will hand me something and be like, "Oh, I just this felt like you," or and it's
mhm,
so crazy. So I found this piece of art, and it was just something that I found on like Amazon, but it's two dragonflies with like flowers all around it. It's just like a metal piece, but I stare at it every single day to remind me that like, change can be good, right? It's not
yes.
always bad. But if
It,
you,
did
like
you
if you're
Google it? They're a symbol of change or no?
yes. Well,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so when I first started seeing them, like it was crazy. Like I would I'll give you an example. Like when I first started seeing them, like back in the day, I
Yeah.
was always like, "Oh, that's so interesting." I've had them like land on me and just literally like I'll put my finger out at a land and I'll be like, "Gosh, that's so
Which they
beautiful."
never
And
do because they're moving
and
so
they're
fast.
always all around. And so like I had one when I was really going through a hard time in San Diego. Like my business was all up in San Francisco. I was flying up there weekly. And I literally like said a little prayer and I was like, gosh, what should I do? And one landed, I was at a
Mm.
stoplight and literally one landed on my windshield. And I was like, I guess change. You know what I mean? And then it flew away. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that must be my sign. But then ever since then, like my brother and I were in Chicago, and he was considering moving back to Chicago. I was considering moving back to Chicago, and we were meeting a friend at a museum. Where were we? We were going to the Adler Planetarium because I had never been. I wanted to see the stars and all that stuff. It's beautiful. And it's like right on the ocean. And we were talking about like, should we move back home? Because that's where we're from.
Mm.
And Gala, I'm not even kidding you. We had an entire swarm come out of nowhere. And my brother just looks at me and he goes, "You're seeing that, right? I'm not imagining this." I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Time
And
to
it
move.
like followed us. Yeah. And I mean, we were both like, okay, I guess we're moving back to Chicago at some point. Like it was just kind of crazy. So
You know what's
yeah.
so interesting too? So with that sort of language of space that I've developed, I can read people's spaces. I can see what they've chosen and then kind of talk about like, well, do you have this going on or whatever? And you're talking about the dragonflies. I see or is it a bee behind you?
Yeah,
The
because
bees.
I've always been told I was a busy bee, and I like so I've always, but I
There
love
you
honeybees. They pollinate our world. They keep
Yeah.
our food on our tables. So
But there you go. Those are all insects that move, that fly. And what do? You move a lot.
move a lot. I didn't
There
even make
you
that
go.
connection.
Reflection of your soul right there in the frame.
It really is.
It's really interesting. Like when I do these one-on-one consults. They're called the Beyond Spaces consults, and like how somebody can read somebody's palm. I basically read the person's space. It's just reflecting back to me, and we can uncover a lot, sometimes subconscious things, and just bring that to the surface. So it's so much deeper than the beautiful covers on Architectural Digest.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
Because
And
people can't always afford that,
No,
right? Like
no.
there's an Amazon commercial right now where the girl like moves into a space and it's really dark and kind of dingy or whatever, and she's watching something and somebody has a bunch of plants, and then all of a sudden she orders all these plants, and she like you could just see her light up, right? And like that's what I feel like, even just making small changes can make big impacts.
Huge. It's funny. So the next tenet is biophilia, which means bringing nature in. There's 14 different ways to do it, and we know that nature reduces our blood pressure, our cortisol levels, boosts our mood. By 2050, I think more than half of the world's population is going to be living in a city. So that disconnection from nature is going to be very prevalent. So one of the ways we can mitigate that, knowing the positive effects, is just bring that nature in. And we've been seeing it as a home trend. I feel like even an office trend for 3 years already. Everybody's bringing the plants in. We know that they make us feel good.
Yeah.
You can bring even paintings with nature in them, the sounds of nature. There's so many different ways to bring that into the space, and that is really, really helpful and easy to do.
Boom. Play it.
Have you ever listened to a commercial on the radio or a podcast and thought, I could totally do that? Well, I am challenging you today. Being a voiceover artist is an amazing side hustle that can be done from the comforts of your own home. Heck, it can be an amazing career. Just ask Jesse Carroll. Jesse's got over 1,000 voiceover credits to his name. Ever watch Back Road Truckers? He's the narrator. He's also done a ton of commercials for brands you would definitely recognize. If you're ready to try your hand at voiceovers, go to marriottsonthemove.com and head to my favorites page to learn more about his new digital course and coaching package. If you use code MOTM, you'll get 20% off at checkout.
Micah Birch is here. I just wanted to drop in for a second and let you guys know that we are rebranding my podcast. We've got a new name, My Doula Micah, my birth, my baby, my life. And we are super excited about extending the content that we've got going from childbirth to postpartum. Now we're including family and marriage and just kind of your life in these childbearing years and what that looks like, and maybe give some helpful tips and wisdom. I mean, I'm 51. I got 6 kids. I think I can help you guys with some stuff. There will still be local interviews, of course. And I'm also expanding now to have including more nationwide interviews. We even have somebody from Canada and Australia. So I'm super excited about this process and what we've got in store for y'all. So join us.
And it's a total stress reducer. I mean, I even had they make some phenomenal fake plants even.
We
I have
use those
brought some.
all the time in corporate
Yeah.
offices. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because some people travel a lot, they can't
Yeah.
water them or they forget. But
Yeah.
I will say there is a company that when I moved into this house, that was one thing that I wanted was I wanted a coastal vibe and I wanted plants. And so I bought a couple big plants from Easy Plant, and it's literally got like a watering container in it.
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
affiliated with them, so I'm
Yeah.
not advertising, but literally once a month I just fill up that container, and
And it does
these are
it.
the only plants I've ever kept alive for longer than 2 years.
Shout out to Easy Plant.
Yeah, I even killed succulents once. Like it's that bad. So shout out for sure.
No, they do say that even a faux plant gives, does the same thing to your brain in terms of the
Really?
positive effects. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What else is in your methodology?
So moving on, we have light and air. Obviously, air became very important during COVID. I think the simplest thing for people to do at home is just remember to ventilate. Open a window,
I don't do that.
wake up, open your window.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, stop and take a deep breath. Leave it
Yeah.
open while you're maybe making your bed, getting ready, especially in the bedroom, right? Because if it's closed, you're getting a lot of CO2 at night. So
Mhm.
fresh air, we know good air is great for obviously brain, clear thinking and all of that. And
Yeah.
now with all of these synthetic materials we're using in our environment, so MDF, paint, adhesives, carpet, I'm looking around, a lot of those
Plastic.
off gas.
Yeah.
So now our indoor pollution is worse than our outdoor pollution, if you can imagine
Ugh,
that. We're in
yeah.
these closed boxes. So ventilate, ventilate, ventilate. Yeah, in
We
terms
just
of
don't do that though. Like
no,
especially in like the hotter climates. Like I'm in
yeah,
Charlotte, North Carolina,
yeah,
and the summers are stifling.
yep.
Like I will open my blinds and everywhere will be
Just hot
steam.
and
Yeah,
humid, right?
like you can't
Yeah,
even see out,
yeah,
but you need that. You
yeah.
need to have that like
Or
flow through.
or if not, a good HVAC system that is taking
Yes.
taking that air, you're getting it cleaned, all of that.
Yeah.
It's really boring, it's not sexy, but it's really important for health.
Yeah, I actually even last month I got my air ducts cleaned. And
Good.
I just kept feeling like I built my house 2 years ago. It's
Okay.
relatively new. I had heard at one point in time that you're supposed to like after you build a new house because a lot of they
The
do that
dust.
first.
Yeah.
A lot of the dust gets up there and
Yep.
everything. But I have a very very bad allergy to mold.
Okay.
And when the guy came here he was like, "Do you want me to do like any type of mold treatment if I find it?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, if you find it, let me know. But the house is 2 years old. It's
Right.
not, I probably," and he's like, "Yeah, the chances of you having a lot of mold is just probably very insignificant." And so I said, "Okay." So he goes up to my attic, he pulls down my vent thing. It's all mold. And I was like, he comes down and he goes, "I need to show you this." And he's like, "I need to treat this." And I've had nothing but sinus infections since I've like moved in here. I've
You
taken dairy
see?
out of my diet, all that stuff.
You
But
see?
yeah, he said that because I'm in a warmer climate and like all these people are moving from, like Chicago and New York and like all
Mhm.
these cold weather, winter weather places to like the
Yeah.
warmer weather. He's like, because you're constantly running your air conditioning in the summer, all of that moisture has to go somewhere,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it happens to be going there. And so I was like, holy crap, I had
Yeah.
no idea.
And
So we treated it.
it's because it's out of sight, out of mind. It's very easy to
Totally.
forget. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day, oxygen and breath is life.
totally.
Like,
Totally. I mean, I would never as a homeowner, like
yeah.
I would feel like I was going to break it if I pulled off like the
Right.
big thing. I don't know
Yes.
what I'm doing. I don't
No.
want to
Yeah.
ruin it, and
Totally.
HVACs are expensive. So I
Totally.
changed the filter, but
Yeah.
I don't do anything else. So
Yeah. Of
how
course.
would I have known?
And I think it's really important when you move into a new home to have that done because you don't know if the
You have no
previous
idea.
people, so
Yeah.
yes,
I did it in
100%.
my house in when I lived in Orland Park in Illinois. Excuse me. The homeowners had been there for 40 years. Absolutely lovely people. They moved to Florida. They left me a bunch of stuff that I even still have today. But the vents hadn't been cleaned in a while. And
Mm,
like when I got them done, the guy was like, "This is probably
yeah,
the worst I've ever seen."
yeah,
And but I was lucky because I had done it right when I moved in. We had renovated and I didn't, all the dust in the air.
good,
I was like, you know what, let's
smart.
just yeah, let's just get rid of it.
Because
But
after
yeah.
construction too, like in part of I have a well certification, and one of the mitigations is to cover all vents while construction's going on to avoid
Mm,
that. But not everybody does that. Not every, you know
yeah.
what I mean?
What is a well certification?
So it is basically human health first in buildings.
Oh,
Ever since, we sealed off buildings, people have been adversely affected, and so
yeah.
it's a humans first when you're building. And there's different, just like I have my categories of holistic interior design, they have 7 different features: light, ergonomics, comfort, sound, and then all of these things that you need to do to get that building certified or that office certified with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to know that that stuff's being taken into
Yes.
consideration.
Especially in commercial buildings. They
Yeah.
just came out with a one for residential, but in commercial buildings, when we were
Okay.
going to offices 8 hours a day and people were working in sick buildings,
Yeah.
really, and um, not even thinking about it, or aware of it. I think about it, I think in 10 years is going to be very common as this
Mhm.
becomes more mainstream knowledge. But, I think about like, um, back in what, like the 60s, smoking was cool. Moms were smoking pregnant. Like
Yeah.
30 years later, we were like, okay, this is not good.
Bad.
I
Yeah.
feel like this is what's going to happen when we start, just realizing all of kind of, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but a lot of the toxins that we're living with, basically, and
Yeah.
that we need to start building differently. Yeah, more
Well, again,
mindfully.
going back to your like the materials, right? The
Yeah.
desks, the
Yes.
carpeting, all that stuff has to be sprayed with something in
Yeah.
order to like not, make
Yep.
yeah, there's just a lot. That's oh gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah, and I don't, healthy materials is one of my tenets. Choose raw materials as much as possible. Those have a higher, price point.
Yeah.
Okay, so then focus on them in the bedroom or in the kids' room where you're sleeping and spending a lot of time.
Mm,
Choose if you can't afford the low VOC non-toxic paints in every room, do them where you're sleeping. There's ways to approach these things. And sometimes they might cost a little bit more, but again, when you think about how it affects your health, that's like a solid
yeah.
investment to make.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
when you like buy something from Amazon and you take it out of the package and
And it
it just
smells.
reeks of like plastic for 3 days, you're like, I don't know that I want to put this out."
So those kinds of things, it's true. They over time the off gassing reduces, but like that could be a period of 2 years where it's off
Mhm.
gassing, and then those changes in temperature are affecting that basically.
Oh my god.
So
That's
healthy
terrifying.
materials are really important. Light, we light in a lot of homes is an afterthought. The other day
Yes.
so essentially, as the sun moves through the sky throughout the day, it's actually changing color temperature. And that change in color temperature is talking to our circadian rhythms and telling us to be more alert or more sleepy, prepping us for sleep, right? If you're in an office cut off from that communication with the sun,
Yep.
you're in disconnected. Your
Right.
body is, and then you're getting blasted with lights. Every light has a certain color temperature, so then you're
Mhm.
just getting blasted with that one, where
Yeah.
naturally it changes throughout the day. And so just being really thoughtful about, more bluish white light is really good for productivity, and being focused, and that softer orange pink light is more for bedrooms and bringing that
Oh,
energy down. So
yeah.
you can be really intentional just with light bulbs in your home, to
It's
better support
crazy.
you. Yeah, and dimmers are really great too. Like I have my bathroom, bedroom, and living room and son's room on dimmers. So
Oh, no
around
kidding.
6:37 that light starts to come
It's
down.
oh, like a restaurant when they
Yeah.
when they go from lunch to dinner seating.
Yeah, and the music, the
The
music,
music
yeah.
gets really vibey. Oh my gosh, yeah,
And
that's so
that just
interesting.
helps bring instantly, it's like, "Oh, we're going into nighttime mode?"
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I've often felt too, like I heard somewhere when you wake up, it's important to start turning lights on so your
Yes,
circadian rhythm can
100%.
yeah,
Yep,
but
open that window.
w- I literally have a beautiful chandelier above me. It's
Okay.
gorgeous. It's,
Yeah.
rose gold. I got it on Amazon. It's,
Yeah.
kind of one of those things. Produces zero light. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I've had to bring lamps in. I've got two
Sexy,
big.
but not functional.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is literally sexy but not functional. But I just bought a ceiling fan that is sitting in the trunk of my car right now because one, after our conversation, because we talked about opening windows, I'm like, I get zero flow in my office and I get zero light. I need light, and I want to be able to, in the summer when it, like before it gets stifling hot,
To have the windows.
the windows open and the fan going.
Yep.
Like that just, I feel like would be a no-brainer, but I didn't even consider it before we talked.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad.
I know. I've already implemented a lot of the stuff that we talked about, so I feel like you should be charging me for
I
this.
love it. Hardly. Oh man.
But if somebody, so again, going back to kind of what I talked about at the beginning, like if somebody, there's a lot of people trapped right now, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but like I've got a 2.8% financing on my mortgage. If I were to buy my home today, right, I would pay almost double what my current mortgage payment is. So that's really hard for a lot of people. What are some things, like if you kind of like my junk drawer of a laundry room, like what are some things that people can do if they feel like they need to buy themselves more time, or they just don't, they like their neighborhood, they like their community, but they don't love their house? What can you do?
Okay, so the first thing is a mind shift of, we find this a lot, right? Transitional homes, or I don't want to do anything to my home because I might move in 2 years. Well, think about it. That's 2 years of living in a non-supportive, potentially draining place.
Yeah.
But yet you might be going to the gym to work out, or you might be, I don't know, getting Sakara and healthy foods. Like, wait a second,
Right.
So first it's a mindset shift. I'm here for at least a year. That's 365 days of my life.
Yes.
I want to be happy. This is worth the investment, even if it means going to, IKEA. IKEA is, by the way, also, doing great things to become like following a lot of sustainability practices. And I think they're trying to be, I don't know if it's carbon free, or they have some sort of climate goal that they're set to reach. Actually, they've made great strides. Even if it's getting, maybe not your dream, furniture, but just something, right? And so if you can't do a whole house, focus on the rooms that you're going to spend the most time in, that spark joy. Think about, okay, let's just say a living room. Your living room is bumming you out. You have a dirty couch that you inherited from somebody, a ratty rug, bad blinds.
Yeah.
Let's get those things. Let's get, fix them, get them easy, attainable. And let me think where I'm going with this. Okay. Let's tackle those things. And one of the biggest things that you can do for, I would say, a minimal investment, but that creates biggest change is painting a wall. Bringing some color in brings in so much life, and people are terrified because it's like, I don't know what color to choose. I'm going to make a mistake. But guess what? You can paint over it.
Yes.
I make mistakes all the time.
I can honestly tell you that I was packing or unpacking my Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
And my Aunt Jan had given me something, gosh, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was a tiny little Christmas tree that was like this beautiful sagey green color. It was a candle. So you pulled off the lid of the Christmas tree and it was a candle. And it had like gold, like a lining on it. And I was like, gosh, you know what? I would love to have a kitchen this color, like my cabinets and like the backsplash. And like, this would just be beautiful. And then I was like, I hate my kitchen, but I have great cabinets. I love them. My house, again, is new. Like, I'm not going to replace them. That's a stupid investment. And I was like, I wonder what it would look like if I put gold hardware on my cabinets. Oh my gosh. Again, another mind-blowing transformation.
Yeah.
It looks so different. I replaced the area rugs like in front of them. And then I put an area rug under my dining room table that I had gotten from my cousin, didn't want it. And mind-blowing how transformational a rug and $20 gold hardware from Amazon could be. It's insane.
It doesn't have to be expensive. And there's also, I don't know, for me at least, what I've found is the act of simply taking time to work on your home, because you get to see the result within a day or two,
Yeah.
is very rewarding. And it's like something shifts. Like, I read somewhere, like, if you feel stuck, start, moving the furniture around, or start on a home
Yeah.
project. And I think it's the act of working with your hands, and, what do they say? Busy hands, calm mind.
Oh,
But then when you finish, you step back and you're like, I did that, and now I get to enjoy that. So just the
yeah.
simple act of it is also, I think, extremely positive,
Yeah.
and if it scares you, to that I just say, go for it. Like, everything is correctable, everything
Mhm.
is returnable, everything is painter overable.
Yeah.
And the biggest tip too is in terms of like, well, God, I have like all of these things, but they don't go together, whatever. What
Yeah.
I find is, people are like, I love this sofa, I love this rug, I love this table.
Yeah.
They spark joy, but when I put them together, they don't work together. So they
Yes.
don't go to the same party. So what I always say is, I'm a professional. I don't submit anything to my clients without putting it all together on some sort of a mood board to see how it works together and
Mm.
how it's talking to each other. And I think if the average person knew that before buying anything,
Yeah.
they'd, put it all in a Pinterest board, or, and see it, and just looking at it, you can, it's really like a feeling. Does this feel right? Is it going
Yeah.
to this? Ask her, is it going to the same party?
Yeah.
And you can refine. So eventually you have that sofa, that rug, and that table that spark joy, but that are also going to the same party. And it's going to give you
Yeah.
that cohesive, look, which your brain is going to like, because it's going to look
Yep.
beautiful. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Yeah.
I'm yeah, so I have gosh, I feel like I'm talking about me a lot. Again, another consultation. Um to that to that theme, I
Yeah.
bought a tapestry. So my coastal theme, I was like kind of like I've had this theme for a long, long time, and I was kind of getting sick of it a little bit.
Mhm.
And I had made a banquette, which I'll post pictures when we're when we release this. But I have a banquette that I found this beautiful like pattern through
Okay.
excuse me, through Ballard Designs.
Uh-huh.
And this house was the first house that I could actually put my whole entire banquette together, because I
Mm.
bought it for another house. It was literally like the ribbing on the banquette was too much and I couldn't fit it in the space that I was in. But I was like, I'm not getting rid of it. I love it. I'm going to store it. And that's what I did. But I was like, gosh, what? Like I started like pulling different colors out of there because I wanted to add, because it's very like, there are dark blues and dark, I mean, going back to that coastal theme, like all those things that you think about. But then I was like, gosh, I never noticed there's like mustards in there, and there's like slight mauves that like, if you can really see it. So
Mhm.
I jumped onto Etsy. I found a tapestry maker,
Mhm.
and I said, here's a picture of the pattern that I have.
Okay.
When you look at this pattern, what colors do you see? And she literally pulled all the colors, including the mauves, including the mustards. And I said, can you create something for me that
Uh-huh.
pulls all of this together so I don't have to move? I can change
Mm.
everything about my furniture and everything. And so she did, and it is stunning. And it's just that
Amazing.
one little thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I didn't realize there are coppers in this, and there are this. My other cousin like sent me one of those like wind catchers, but it's like metals and like
Yeah.
little stones, and I kind of put that on top of the tapestry just to like kind of get it out of the way while I was moving something else. And I was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing
It
together.
works.
And like it literally has now tied the room in together,
Mhm.
where I'm now like creating these spaces that are just like all those colors, but now it looks like it works together,
Yes. Yeah.
so
What's so fascinating to me is that you've moved so much, but you're also so great at creating a home and putting it all
yeah,
together. Because I think of somebody that's moved a lot as somebody, more uh
minimalist.
nomadic, in the sense, I'm not going to set up camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's impressive.
Thank
That's
you.
impressive. Yeah.
But I think that that's the thing I need. And going back to your like the part of the conversation where we talked about like you need to feel that good energy in
Yeah.
your own space,
Yes.
and I need to create a home because most of the places that I've lived in have not had a lot of people that I knew there, right? So
Mm,
like I need to bring those people into my space. And you had mentioned like when you walk in, having something that, makes you happy in the
yeah.
walkway. I've got a gigantic United States, like a wooden, multi-wood panel United States. My friend
Uh-huh.
Trisha, when I was moving from Bloomington, Illinois to Charlotte, she's like, I feel like you should own this. Like it's
Mm,
the United States. You've lived all over it.
uh-huh.
Like, I feel like you should own it. So what I did is I went to Mixed Tiles,
Uh-huh.
which is like a brand that if you're not familiar with it, like you can upload like 20 pictures and they will send you these tiles that it's literally like a peel and stick on the back. You put it on your
Okay.
wall. You can pull it off at any time and reposition it. Like I have them all over my house.
Uh-huh.
But I took the United States and I put it on my wall, like right in the center. And I have like 30 pictures all around it of all my friends in the areas that they live. So all
Oh,
my
that's
friends from New York are in the
yeah.
Northeast. All my friends from California and San Francisco are like in the,
And
so
that's at the entrance?
it's right in
I
my
love it.
hallway, and it stops people in their tracks because they
Yeah.
just see all of and I come from a freakishly large family. So let's be
Yeah.
honest, like half of it is like my family from different areas of the country. But it's just nice because like I don't feel alone and I don't feel like
Yeah.
my friends aren't here with me. And then when they come to visit and they see themselves on the wall, it's like the wall of fame, like
But again, going back to our interior as a projection of the soul,
yeah,
that is one of the most powerful key, I said, focal points in somebody's home because you come in and out daily.
yeah.
Look at it, totally sums
It's
you up,
amazing.
and
Yeah.
boom, it's right there at the
Right
entrance.
there.
Hello, look at what you're coming into. This is
Right.
me. Like,
See, I was a
it's really
closet holistic
interesting.
home designer and I didn't even know it.
Yeah. No, you're just very in tune with what sparks joy, and just not even knowing it, you're putting it in, really, like, I call them power spots, basically.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
What are some other power spots in your house?
So that bedroom, that first wall that you see when you get up, I think another important part, and this is one of my tenants, is a place of sanctuary. So
Mm,
in today's overstressed world where we're going in a constant state of stress, and we're not supposed to be in a constant state of stress. The
yeah.
stress is supposed to be like if the tiger's coming to get us, not
Right.
24/7.
Right.
Being intentional about creating just a pocket of sanctuary, and you don't have to have some big fancy meditation room. Like, I
Yeah.
literally have a chaise off to the side with a little reading lamp, an end table,
Mhm.
a candle, a throw,
Oh, and you just
and
read
that
there.
is my spot to go to. No phone, no
Mhm.
technology. A really cool thing, actually, for families is to create a digital detox box. So you can like decorate it, go to Michael's or Etsy or whatever, and
Yeah.
stencil digital detox. And so you go to sit in that chair, you put your phone in there, or before family dinners, everybody puts their phone in there.
Oh,
It becomes a
yeah.
sort of ritual. Again, intentionality, through design. But this idea of a pocket of sanctuary somewhere, so
Yeah.
that you've created a visual destination to go to remind you to turn off,
Yeah.
and you have a space to go to. For me, that's a power spot. Ultimate
Totally.
well-being,
Yeah. Well, and
you
a lot of
know?
my friends have younger children.
Yeah.
So like half of my friends have like older kids that are like in college and the other
Mhm.
half have like young children, like 3 or 4. Like what are some ways that, I mean, obviously like they need a sanctuary, like the parents for sure.
Yeah.
But I know we talked about at one point like intimacy spots and like
Mhm.
things that like create that separation so the couple can, still have that connection, but also still have the family time and like
Yes.
talk about that.
Yeah, so the most important thing for a relationship, and the room that would, talk to me about the relationship, is the bedroom,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
bedroom, we don't want pictures necessarily of our kids or other family members.
Smart.
We don't want that Peloton bike. We don't want that
Yeah.
desk. The bedroom is a place of rest, relaxation, connection with your partner if you have one. The
Yeah.
other thing really important in bedrooms, if you're married, is to have the same end tables on both sides, the
Oh,
same
interesting.
lamps, artwork
Okay.
in pairs. If
Tell me
I
more.
walk into somebody's home, I'm doing a Beyond Spaces consult, and I see the bed, and maybe, sometimes, like, because of the shape of the room, you have one partner that's like up against the wall,
Yeah.
and maybe they have a small end table, and then the other partner has all this breathing space and a bigger end table. I'm going to start saying, is there an issue in the marriage? Is there an imbalance? This is what, and so then we'll talk about it, but then we'll also rectify it with balanced end tables, balanced lamps, artwork into,
Yeah.
again, the space is just reflecting back what's going on. So those are some things to think about in the bedroom. Soft lighting on dimmers. We talked about that.
Yep.
Again, those softer colors, rounder shapes, bringing in like those mohair rugs, softer textures. You get the vibe, right?
Yeah, for
It has a
sure.
totally different vibe than what you're seeing behind me. So again, being
Yeah.
very intentional about our choices. And then conversely, one of the tenets too that we talk about, because loneliness has become such a pandemic now, is designing for community and sociability. If I walk into somebody's home and the living room doesn't have seating and to seat the whole family, I'm like, who's getting left out?
Right.
You know?
Oh my
Um,
gosh. That's
yeah, or the dining
crazy.
room table, one person's cramped at the end. I want to know who sits there. How do
Yeah.
they feel in the family?
Wow.
So really being intentional, if you're in a family setting, making sure there's space for everybody so that everybody
Yeah.
feels welcome. The other thing you can do if you're building a home from scratch is make the bedrooms smaller and make the communal areas bigger so that
Oh
it
wow, that's a
forces
great
people to
idea.
come out and commune, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my mind is blown right now. Um, well, because I mean, just even thinking about that gala, like
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Like I lived that. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
my spaces, so I inherited a lot of furniture
Mm.
from like my stepmom's um old neighbor. It's a long story, but
Yeah.
I inherited a lot of stuff, but it was like one dresser, one stand-up dresser, and one what's it called? Like side
Mhm.
table for the bed.
Mhm.
And so for most of my adult life, I had one random
One.
one and one nice one.
Mhm.
And but I live alone,
Yeah.
like I was single, so
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about that. But I also, when I bought my new bedroom set, I specifically bought two side tables because I was like, one day I might be married and one day I might have a partner and I
There
want
you
them to
go.
feel included. But I never knew like what that feeling was. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I feel like an adult now. I
Yeah.
have matching furniture.
Yeah.
It
But
was like
see,
that little thing.
subconsciously, you were already doing it,
Yeah.
and actually one of the ways that I work with clients that are looking to attract love is, looking at their space. And it's like, if you have one end table, are you creating space for somebody else to join you? I
Yeah.
invite them to empty out a drawer, empty out a foot of hang space. That's hard in New York City,
It is
especially if you're a
hard.
woman. Um, to literally create space for that other person. It's
Yeah.
it's really working with your physical space in a very intentional but also energetic way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that because a lot of people, going back to what you said about being lonely, like we're so focused digitally that
Hmm.
sometimes like having physical people in your space seems scary,
Yeah.
right? But if
Yeah.
you create an environment that feels safe for you
Yes.
when you finally meet somebody and you welcome them in, then
Yes.
that will be a safe space for both of you.
Absolutely. And to that point too, in some of these bigger homes, you have like a lot of like unused rooms off of the main spaces,
Yeah.
which for me are energy drains. That's one of my tenets, is less is more. You want to get a house or a home where every single room is going to be used. But to your point, and going back to community and sociability, what if you created like, a little sort of bar space, it's all
Oh
painted
yeah.
one color and you have a record player and a bar. And then when you're inviting people in, it's this special moment to commune in, and
Right.
it changes the interaction and the vibe, and and then
Yeah.
you have and maybe, who knows, because of that, you're going to want to invite more people in because you have
Yep.
the space to do that in.
Yeah.
So it's really, interesting how dialed down and intentional we can, like, people are just touching the surface with what can be done
Yeah.
to create change
Well,
in their
yeah.
lives.
And even like that bar, if somebody does want to create that sociability, that's like a welcoming, like, I've been expecting you. I've
Yes.
prepared for you,
Come
and I'm
on
so
in.
excited to have you without actually having to say that, you
Yeah.
know?
And let's make a cocktail
Yeah.
together, or,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Let's create
Yeah.
together. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, I think that we're in a really unique age where and I'm a gigantic HGTV and Magnolia
Mhm.
Network fan, and you and I have talked about like collaborating on something. But I think it's interesting because the shift with the pandemic, like we went from people like throwing down massive amounts of money for renovations
Mhm.
to, losing jobs and losing
Yeah.
family members and
Yeah.
downsizing and moving
Yeah.
and regretting those moves. And
Yes.
there's a lot of people again kind of trapped in this, like, I'm still recovering. I know the world has opened up, so to speak. I mean, COVID's
Mhm.
obviously still around and probably is never going to leave us for a long time, but at the same time, like, this is serving a different market
Yeah.
that could embrace where they're at, buy
Yeah.
them more time. A lot, I mean, just doing my laundry room, it was
Mm.
amazing at how I felt like, okay, my junk is put away. And I also at the same time, like within like the month before that, I actually took my garage, and instead of putting my car in it, I hope my insurance agent is not listening to this, but um, I had all this like this matting that I had gotten during the pandemic when I
Mhm.
built a little gym down in my basement,
Mhm.
and I wasn't really working out a lot. I'm further out. I'm in an up and coming area, so
Okay.
I'm 10-15 minutes from the nearest gym. And I like to work out at home. I
Yeah.
don't I have like the beach body on demand stuff. So I created like a little gym in my garage that I love. Like I
Yeah.
have a treadmill in there and a rowing machine, and I do my
Wow.
little beach body programs. Yeah, cuz I didn't have the space before, but like I inherited these things, and
Yeah.
now I created space, and now I actually go out there. I'm watching do you remember the show Smash
Oh, yeah,
from
of
like,
course.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, the musical?
Yeah.
I was going through my stuff, and because I always do this thing in January is I start like decluttering each room
Love
to
that.
like potentially, if I have a garage sale or something in the summer. I found like 2 boxes of DVDs that I didn't even know I had anymore. And I dug out a DVD player that was in my garage, and I set up a TV and a Roku, and now I go out there and I'm watching episode by episode is what I walk on the treadmill. And it's fun
I
because
love
then I
it.
sing with them, and like
Yeah.
I'm such a like Broadway nerd that
Yeah.
it's, to me, like I look forward to it because I don't really remember what happened each show because I
Yeah.
binge watched it when I first saw it. So now I want to go out into that space and work
Do it.
out.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like my laundry room, I don't mind, folding
Going.
my laundry on top of my washer dryer anymore because it's pretty, and I'm looking at beautiful peel and stick wallpaper that cost me literally
Yeah.
$9.99,
Well,
right?
one thing I want to run by you, like, so there's some excitement, I feel like, with the energy of moving and going to a new place. I know a lot of you probably talk about this. A lot of people move because they're not happy, but you there's that saying that you follow yourself anywhere you go.
Everywhere you go, there
Right.
you are.
So, there's like this, like, going back to yang energy, there's this, masculine, like,
Hmm.
about moving. Whereas there's this like kind of like energy if like you're not happy in your space and
Yeah.
like, but if you double down on that and you deal, right,
Yeah.
with, decluttering and working on some of these spaces, you can feel that vibrant energy again in your own home. It's going to
Yeah.
cost you less, it's going to be less disruptive.
Yep.
And, if you apply your methodology and the timing isn't right, then that's exactly what you need to be doing. You're right
100%.
where you need to be.
Yeah. And sometimes you go through it and you realize, like, oh, shoot, like I really did have everything I needed in that last space, but now I can't go home,
Yeah.
right? Because I've either sold it or like given up my lease. I talk a lot about the 6 month funk.
Okay.
So what I found, and this was something that I felt over and over again when I wasn't in the right space or the right place.
Uh-huh.
And about 6 months in, all that newness wears off, right?
Mhm.
You're no longer exploring because you know the area, you know your grocery stores, you know your gas stations, you know all the
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
And you get to a point where you're like, at least this was for me, it always starts in the grocery store. I'm like, you know what? the Whole Foods back at home didn't put the fruit here.
Yeah.
This doesn't even make sense. I don't know why they would have done that. Like, why would you put that in the front end? Like, I start like comparing
Yeah.
my last place, even though I left my last place for a reason.
Mhm.
But it's that nostalgia
Yeah.
that, I mean, there were studies, like if you Google, and I'll have to look at what the dates were. It was either like the 1600s, I think it was the 1800s. But if you Google nostalgia, it's had to be the 1800s. There were some crazy methodology, like in the military, when someone would get nostalgia, because think about it, they didn't have, you couldn't FaceTime
Telephone,
somebody, or
right.
you didn't have telephone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was like you're writing letters to somebody and then you wait
It
3
takes a
months for them
month.
to reply.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they had these extreme measures for people with nostalgia, and really it was just like this funk that you just miss your people, you miss your
Yeah.
places, you miss that comfort of home.
Mhm.
And so what I found is that, like, when I would go through my framework, if I hit all those boxes, but I knew what could potentially come up,
Yeah.
I didn't hit that 6-month funk. But if I moved somewhere, so like there's one move that I can think of, and I won't name where it was, but I basically moved for the money, right?
Okay.
Like I was going to be making a really good salary. It was not an expensive place to live.
Mhm.
But in my head, I'm like, okay, this is going to get me to my dream faster. But
Okay.
really, did it? No, it held me
Mm.
back for a couple years.
Mm.
And it worked
Interesting.
out, and
Yeah.
I made some interesting connections, but I legitimately, in hindsight, shouldn't have disrupted and moved, because all the things that I needed were where I had just come from. So I went through
Interesting.
that 6-month funk pretty hard, and it lasted for about a year, and then I moved.
Interesting.
And it's like that revibrating energy, right? You
Yeah.
need to bring your vibration up. But
Yes.
sometimes if you're not in, like, if you are in a space that serves a purpose and serves where you are or what you're trying to get to,
Mm-hmm.
kind of what we're talking about today is just raising that energy, raising
Yeah.
that vibration, and making it something that you can identify with, and
Yeah.
like really like draws you in. So when you have to wait a year or two, you're not going to hit
You're
the
not bummed.
6-month funk. Yeah. And then if you,
Totally.
and at least if you know that,
Yeah.
you can be aware of it. But if
Yeah.
you're like, you start going through those funky, I mean, everybody has the funks, right?
Yeah.
Like usually they'll last a couple weeks, but if you go, I have a checklist that I make of like, okay, if I'm starting to feel the funk, and or like a little bit of depression or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety or something, like, am I doing my top 10, right? Is that,
Mm.
am I working out? Am I eating good whole foods? Am
Mm-hmm.
I giving myself walks outside? Am I connecting with the people that I love the most, that get me, that I really have a strong connection with?
Mm-hmm.
Like, am I am I doing things I love, like karaoke or
Uh-huh.
acting or podcasting, or like,
Uh-huh.
so I have this
And
whole
wait,
list of,
Mariette, now we're going to add to the list. Am I happy in my space?
am I happy in my
Part of that
space? And
checklist.
no,
Yeah.
that's no, that, I mean, I think it's so important. And like, if you can create that with just a few minor tweaks,
Yeah.
like it could be life changing.
Yeah, it gives back way more than the investment. The other thing I wanted to mention, which might be good for your listeners, like I'm sure, like I even know people like this that are almost like moving junkies.
Yeah.
That the chase and the idea of
Oh, yeah.
something new is better than doing the work to settle, because sometimes it takes work. Good decorating choices for people that I would say might need some grounding
Mm-hmm.
are more earthy, darker colors, rugs on the floor, square, rectangular, heavy furniture,
Okay.
down lighting. We're getting grounded. We're getting
Yeah.
down,
I
right?
wonder if that's why I wanted the good dark sagey color, because it's like 2 layers darker than the sage color behind you.
Yes.
Just
And
it was just a tiny bit darker, but
Yeah.
like I wonder if that, for me, because I am starting to do that. Like I
Yeah.
got a new desk, and I like, so I
Yeah.
wonder if that's a subconscious thing that we just don't even realize we need that grounding.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And it's just good to know, you know what I mean? If you already have that desire to keep moving, and it's possible that then you're designing your space with bright colors and lights going upwards away. Maybe that's not what you need. Maybe it's what
Yeah.
you're addicted to, what you like, but
Yes.
maybe you need to start bringing some of this other stuff in, The other
Yeah.
thing too that I love that you said in January, how you go around and declutter everything, that's also one of the tenets. That's like the hugest issue I see with people. And
Yeah.
there's such a beauty, going back to nature and our connection with nature in the seasons and how we feel in different season and what it indicates. You can use, winter and spring, which is like very powerful seasons. I think that,
Mhm.
when you go into winter, it's this period of self-reflection and going in and stillness, and spring is wood and bursting forth. Those changes, we feel differently inside. They're great times to do exactly what you're doing. Walk around your home, declutter. Does this still spark joy? Does this still support me? Has this been draining me for 3 months? Let me do something about it.
Yeah.
So literally 2 times a year, check-ins,
Yeah.
again, we're adaptable humans. So we put these blinders on, we focus, on our kids, on our work, but we don't take time to step back and look around and say, is my environment supportive? Is it
Yeah.
supportive of who I want to be today and what my dreams are tomorrow?
Yes.
Again, think about all of the stuff we've talked about and doing that in your space, how much more of a supercharged space that is versus just following the trends or not doing nothing at all. Think about how
Totally.
supportive that is. It's a
Yeah.
big difference, night and day.
There's so many places to get those things, and you don't always have to throw things away or donate them. Like
Yeah.
I take things, I recycle things within my own environment a lot.
Yeah.
So I will, if I don't have a use for something, or I feel like that with them, like it's like creating chaos, I'll put it
Yeah.
in the garage.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Yeah.
I might pull it back in, but if I put
Yeah.
it out in the garage and like 6 months later, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. Like I
Yeah.
probably didn't need it or want it to
Yeah.
begin with. But yeah, I can totally see how that would kind of change your vibe, because uprooting is really disruptive.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just a matter of like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what I want. Like, here's this, but I want to feel this way. So
Yes.
create that feeling, right?
Yes.
We have so many things at our fingertips that like we can do that,
We can
right?
do it.
Oh my gosh.
And stay in place too.
Yeah. Gala, I feel like we could talk for another hour.
We could for sure.
I know. So where can my listeners find you?
Yes. So I am launching a podcast. It's the trailer's up. It's called Going Beyond Spaces with Gala. I'm going to drop an entire season at a time. So if you go and hit follow, you'll be alerted when that season drops, which will be in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And Instagram at Gala Magrina Design. The website's also Gala Magrina Design. We're making it really easy. And then also in September, it's going to go live in my page in about a week or two. I'm starting a course for the general public on holistic interior design.
Oh, that's so exciting.
6 weeks, 90 minutes a week. We'll dive into some of these things and I'll give you some tips on how to do this at home. So yeah,
Oh my
there's
gosh.
a bunch of ways to work with me and connect with me. So thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, once that's up, I
Yes.
will 100% put that on my website, because
you.
I just feel like this is such an important conversation.
Yeah.
People are always shocked as like a moving and relocation coach when I'm like, no, stay. You have everything you need right there. And they're like, wait, I want to spend thousands of dollars hiring movers. I want to spend thousands of dollars getting into a new space. I'm like, no.
Nope.
But this is so important, because this is your life, right?
Yes.
And you only get one, and it's short,
Yes.
and there's no reason you should feel crappy in your environment.
100%. Oh,
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
100%.
I just love our conversation. I love collaborating with you. I am
Ditto.
so excited to get this up, and I just feel like big things are going to happen. So
I love that.
thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, I could go on forever and ever about moving you closer to your dreams, but I probably should save some thoughts for the next episode. A big thanks goes out to you for making time for me today. And making time for me, you're making time for future you, and we're both grateful. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the podcast, download the episodes, and leave me a 5-star review. I would really appreciate it. In return, if you go to my website, mariette'sonthemove.com, and register for the Monday mailer, I'll send you a free Fred workbook to get your journey started. This is also where you can find all the show notes and all the ways to get in touch with me. A special thanks goes out to Rogue Media for its wisdom and partnership. Until next time, friends, keep moving forward towards your dreams. Oh, and the legal stuff. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. I am a certified coach, not a licensed therapist, and this is not meant to replace the professional advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. This is solely my perspective based on my own experience and training. Okay, now it's over. For reals. Bye for now.
This has been a Rogue Media Network